2 comedies, 2 animated movies, 1 drama, and 1 big-ticket action movie. Stay tuned for reviews of all 6 major new releases this weekend at the movies. Scary Movie, also known as Scary Movie 6, is the latest in a series of Wayans brother parodies of horror movies and popular culture. Besides Marlon and Sean Wayans, this movie stars Anna Faris and Regina Hall. In the film, you'll see references to many horror movies, including Sinners, Megan, The Substance, Get Out, and, of course, the Scream franchise, which inspires the story in this movie, which also includes references to woke culture and other societal trends. And there are some really cool cameos. Scary Movie isn't very scary, and it's not much of a movie. Just kidding. That's a line I might have used if I hadn't liked the movie, but I did like it. In fact, I think Scary Movie may well be the best film in the franchise, possibly because the writers had so much material to work with. It's been 13 years since the previous Scary Movie, far longer than the gap between any 2 other movies in the franchise. Scary Movie is delightfully self-referential and meta without overdoing it. Some of the gags do fall flat, but most are fun, and some of them are laugh-out-loud funny. At the end of the movie, don't worry, I'm not giving you a spoiler, I don't do spoilers in my reviews, but at the end of the movie, it does become a little too twisty for its own good. But most of Scary Movie is very enjoyable. Will there be a Scary Movie 7? Why not? There's been a Scream 7, and Scary Movie does mirror the Scream franchise. In fact, Scary Movie, also known as Scary Movie 6, may be good enough to revitalize this franchise in the same way that Scream in 2022, also known as Scream 5, revitalized that franchise. I give Scary Movie version 2026 3 claps out of 5. Stream it. I think this movie is probably best enjoyed with a group of family and friends at home, and it's a lot cheaper to watch it at home streaming than to haul all your peeps to the theater. At least at home, you won't get shushed, hopefully. Masters of the Universe is the second live-action telling after the 1987 film of the sword and sorcery / sci-fi struggle between characters created by Mattel, He-Man, played by Nicholas Galitzine, and Skeletor, played by Oscar winner Jared Leto. Other cast members include Alison Brie, James Purefoy, Kristen Wiig, Marina Baccarin, and Idris Elba. Masters of the Universe functions mainly as an origin story for He-Man, aka Prince Adam. We first see the character as a weak and sensitive boy in Eternia, and then as a weak and sensitive 20-something in Oklahoma City, all the while trying to fit in. But eventually, of course, he finds his power, and we see him become the warrior that millions have enjoyed for decades. We even find out where the name He-Man came from. And throughout it all, He-Man gets assistance from a wide variety of characters, each with their own abilities and challenges. Masters of the Universe is too silly to be taken seriously. There are lots of moments throughout the movie that are just fun to watch, but there are too many of them. The movie's pervasive, light-hearted tone makes it difficult to see it as an action movie and enjoy it on that level. The characterizations are similarly problematic. This movie could still have been fun and funny if the filmmakers had dialed back the levity and taken their own plot more seriously. The visuals are great, especially in IMAX, which is how I saw it, but that's not enough to make up for the lack of seriousness muddying the waters in what could have been a very good action movie. But if you see it, stay for the mid and end credit scenes to see the filmmaker's very obvious setup for a sequel. I give Masters of the Universe just 2 claps out of 5. I say skip it, unless you're a really big fan of this IP and really want to see a retelling of He-Man's story no matter how it plays out. It's up to you. Power Ballad is a musical comedy drama. The story follows a wedding singer named Rick, played by Paul Rudd, an American musician who seems like his best days are behind him and who's living in Ireland with his Irish wife and daughter. At a wedding where Rick's band performs, there happens to be a famous wedding guest named Danny, played by Nick Jonas. Danny is a former boy band member who is struggling to establish his own identity in the music world as a solo artist. Rick and Danny meet, bond, and end up peeling off and jamming together. Rick shares with Danny a song that he says he's been laboring over for years. Danny takes the song, finishes it, releases it as his own, and it becomes a huge global hit. Well, of course, Rick wants to prove the song is his, but he has no evidence and almost no one believes him, including Danny's manager and Rick's own attorneys. This injustice drives him to distraction, and he ends up going to extreme lengths to prove his point and get the credit that he believes he deserves. Power Ballad is billed as a comedy drama, but it's much more drama than comedy. The comedy comes from a series of amusing and even extreme situations, a few funny lines here and there, and the colorful characters in Rick's band of wedding musicians. But Rick's dramatic struggle for recognition and relevance is the main focus of this movie. The performances, mostly from little-known actors, are terrific, and the performances we get from Rudd and Jonas may be among the best in their respective acting careers. I also found it an interesting creative choice to set most of the movie in Ireland, where we get a lot of local color and some great visuals. Although a bit overwrought at times, this movie's drama plays very well as a very engaging story that I was anxious to see play out. And the ending is wonderfully calibrated for maximum impact and minimal distraction. I give Power Ballad 4 claps out of 5. I say see it, and see it in the theater if you get the chance. Carolina, Caroline is a romantic crime thriller starring Samara Weaving as Caroline, a rural Texas gas station attendant who meets, falls in love with, and joins a charming con man named Oliver, played by Kyle Gallner. As the two hustle their way through the Southeast looking for Caroline's estranged mother, Oliver teaches Caroline his tricks and philosophy of crime. Caroline finds out that she has a talent and a taste for a nomadic life of crime. But as the two start working as a team, their cons and other crimes become more and more elaborate and more dangerous, hurling them both towards what looks increasingly like a point of no return. Carolina, Caroline naturally invites comparisons to 1967's Bonnie and Clyde, but this movie takes place in modern times, and while there are fun moments, it's generally darker, more emotional, and definitely more passionate. This story feels real and gives the audience chances to judge Caroline and Oliver, to cheer for them, and to pity them. And making this movie especially effective and affecting is the acting. To me, Kyle Gallner was a revelation. And I think these are the best performances that I've ever seen from Kira Sedgwick in a small but crucial role, and Samara Weaving herself. Or is that Margot Robbie? I do get them confused. I kind of wonder if they both might be the same person. I mean, have you ever seen them together in a room? I know I haven't. Just a little joke, actually. Samara Weaving is the star of this movie, and she is terrific. I give Carolina, Caroline 4 claps out of 5. See it in a theater for maximum enjoyment. The Last Whale Singer is an animated fantasy film which follows Vincent, an orphaned humpback whale who is the son of the famous Last Whale Singer, a whale who could heal and right wrongs just based on the power of his song. Vincent, joined by his fish nanny and later by a tough female orca, makes a dangerous journey across the ocean to the deepest parts of the Pacific in hopes of finding his own song to save the ocean from a dangerous ink-spewing leviathan. This is a German film, but don't worry, in American theaters and on American TV, you'll hear these sea creatures speaking English, wenn du kein Deutsch sprichst, if you don't speak German. Marbley likes fish, which is probably why she wanted to join me for this review. The Last Whale Singer is simply marvelous. It'll remind you of Pixar's Finding Nemo, but even though this movie references that film a couple times, trust me, it charts its own path through the oceans. The plot carries echoes of many other animated hero adventures, but The Last Whale Singer still manages to be very, very creative in a lot of ways, large and small. Vincent is full of self-doubt, but he never gives up. His companions are fun and interesting and full of life, and the sea creatures they all meet along the way are similarly fun and colorful. And speaking of colorful, the colors in this movie are vibrant and mesmerizing. You could watch this entire film on mute and still be very entertained. Pixar may still be the great white whale of animation, but the production companies behind this movie, led by Telescope Animation, show us that there are lots of fish in the sea. The Last Whale Singer gets 5 claps out of 5. Go to the theater and see this movie, and take the whole family if you can. If you can afford the gas and the tickets and the snacks, it'll be well worth it. The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act, is the final episode in the Australian adult animated web series, which follows a group of humans trapped inside a circus-themed virtual reality simulation and subject to the whims of an erratic artificial intelligence, all while dealing with their own personal traumas. The avatars for these humans are surreal and whimsical and look like a harlequin with pinwheel pupils, a tall, thin purple rabbit, a Raggedy Ann doll with a button for a right eye, a tall, thin chess piece with googly eyes and a purple robe, and a seemingly random collection of different colored shapes that defies description. All of them subject to a floating ringmaster with dentures for a head and eyeballs on his tongue. Kane, as he is called, puts the humans through a variety of games, challenges, and tasks for which he thinks they should be grateful. All the while, they are trying to do anything to break free from his control and deal with their own personal issues and changing interpersonal dynamics. The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act, is very imaginative and colorful, but can be haphazard in its storytelling. For one thing, minor characters inexplicably appear and disappear. The movie can be a lot of fun to watch, but the seeming random nature of some of the scenes, some of them seemingly unfinished, makes it difficult to follow. The lack of a strong narrative thread kept me from enjoying the movie. I can only give The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act 2 claps out of 5 and suggest that you skip it. However, this is one general movie reviewer's opinion, one who had no previous knowledge of this intellectual property. I think it's only fair to tell you that the fairly crowded theater where I saw the movie and roughly 50-50 breakdown of kids and adults seemed to thoroughly enjoy it and really like the way that it ended. And some of them even called out to each other across the theater while the credits started to roll. So, I guess you have to decide between my 2-clap review and advice to skip this one and the differing opinion of most of the people around me in the theater. As always, it's up to you. You've been watching This Weekend at the Movies. Please like and subscribe, and also click that bell on the right so you can be notified of our new videos and not miss any of our honest, spoiler-free, quick turnaround movie reviews in time for you to decide whether to see those movies opening weekend. And please tell your friends. Heck, tell your enemies. We welcome everybody. My name is Dave McLean. Thank you very much for your time and attention.